So I was speaking about the Mozambique's threats from the wide areas
you mentioned
and why it could worry the Black Stars. And I wanted to focus on Ghana's fullbacks, the issues they've had in our last two games. So in this sequence from the game against Cape Verde, keep an eye on Dennis Odoi right here. So as the ball progresses from the right-hand side, he has his marker. He's supposed to keep an eye on the marker, but all his attention was focused on the play on the far side, instead of keeping an eye on the player who was right behind him. And of course, that player got onto the ball, onto the rebound, and scored from there. So we have our first error from our right back, who failed to keep an eye on the player he was supposed to. We'll get another angle on Gideon Mensah, who should be making a run back once he sees where the player is coming from. Once he notices that Jordan Ayew is at a disadvantage, he should be busting a gut to make the run in this direction to prevent the advance of the player. Unfortunately, he slows down, doesn't do it, and then the player gets through. Eventually ends up in a goal for Cape Verde. Our next error comes from the same game against Cape Verde. So here we see again Dennis Odoi. First of all, he's out of shot. Alexander Djiku is covering for him. You would expect Dennis Odoi, who appears in our screen right here, to make this player his top priority. As Djiku is covering his man right here. Keep an eye on what Dennis Odoi does. He lets go of his man, and then he confuses Djiku by not sticking to that man, allowing Djiku here, and almost cost the Black Stars a goal here. We'll get a better view of it in the other angle. So right here, Dennis Odoi, he is confusing Djiku. What you do as a right back here, you stick with the man that you've been given. If you try to make a switch mid-attack or mid-defense, you cause a confusion which allows the player to be free. And that is exactly what he does here. Instead of sticking with his man, there's some confusion here, leaving the player free. He's able to go through the defense and take a shot on goal. Fortunately, Richard Ofori was on top form, so the Black Stars don't concede.
Interesting point you raised, because the reason that this advantage pops up is that now Djiku has to cut across. He has to run across.
Exactly.
And now come to his man. By that time, the pass has already
been given. So you expect your right back, who was supposed to be covering the man, to stick with the man. He didn't there. So the final clip from our game against Cape Verde comes from the final goal that Cape Verde scored. Obviously, you keep an eye here on Gideon Mensah, who is supposed to be covering this offensive player right here. So as the game progresses, the player is left alone. Gideon Mensah does not at any point scan. So he leaves the player all alone right here to tackling the final ball. Our fullbacks have been losing focus at key moments in the last couple of games. And obviously, if you lose concentration against a team that prioritizes wing play, you are going to suffer the consequences. So Chris Hughton, I hope he's spoken to his fullbacks, whoever he decides to play today, to keep their focus. The next thing I want to focus on is our wingers. The Black Stars wingers. And this is why I hope Chris Hughton starts actual wingers in this game. Whether it's Enes Nyama, whether it's Joseph Painter, who we are going to talk about today. And if he decides to go with the same lineup as he did against Egypt, I hope he sticks Jordan Ayew up front and plays Semenyo out wide, at least Semenyo and Iñaki out wide. And this is why. First of all, let's talk about Joseph Painter. What impresses me so much about Joseph Painter, who I'm highlighting right here, is his movement. Not just his passing, not just his ability to take on defenders, it's the movement. So keep an eye on this player. So as he puts Antoine Semenyo through, he doesn't stay still. he directs his play into the penalty box to create an extra offensive player for the Black Stars in the penalty box. So even though the ball does not come to him, he still makes a move to drag a few defenders with him. So the ball hits the post from Koningsdorfer, and it ends up all the way out here to Majid Ashimeru. Now take a look at Joseph Paintel again.
Okay.
Not staying still, but making a move into the box so that he gets on the end of any rebound that occurs. Of course, Ashimeru's ball ends up in the back of the net, but there's this option of Joseph Paintel if the ball had come back.
Okay.
So I'd like to go back again to highlight our wing play from Antoine Semenyo this time. Slow this down and we start the sequence. This is why I feel Antoine Semenyo serves Ghana best as a winger instead of Jordan Ayew. In this position, if this were Jordan Ayew, he receives this ball with his back to goal.
Mm-hmm.
So this pass from Gideon Mensah comes to him, and he traps it, receives it, and allows the defender to come onto him. This is not what Antoine Semenyo does, and this is not what a proper winger would do. What Semenyo does is he turns with the ball, and he's directly heading towards the goal. He's directly heading towards the goal. This is what you expect from your winger, not someone who just holds onto the ball. And although I've praised Jordan Ayew for holding onto the ball, I think he does it a little too often. I want us to go back to this sequence where Semenyo runs into the channel. And this is what he provides for the Black Stars instead of a player like Jordan down the wings. So once Semenyo gets into this position, his first instinct is not to hold on to the ball. His first instinct here is to put the ball into a dangerous area for an offensive player to latch onto. He's not one that holds onto the ball for far too long and then delays the opportunity while the offensive players move into position. So you want a winger who puts the ball into these sorts of areas for your offensive players. And unfortunately, I don't think this is something that Jordan does enough of when he's played in such positions. That is why I'd prefer a player like Semenyo in the wide areas, or Iñaki Williams, or even better, players who are used to playing out on the wing like Enes Nyama, Joseph Paintel, even Osman Bukhari, even though he had his issues from the previous game. So back to this Semenyo opportunity, we've talked about this, and we're going to move on to a final instance of play which involves Jordan Ayew. So right here. And when I was talking about this sequence, I praised Jordan Ayew for holding the ball because there were no other options. Had it been Joseph Paintel in this case, he doesn't hold on to the ball here. He makes a run past the player because he knows he has the beating of this player. While Jordan Ayew doesn't do that, it allows these two defenders to track back and come and cover this position. So he's not able to do that. But a natural winger will trust his chances one-on-one against a defender and go past him. But Jordan decides to keep the ball. It ends up drawing a lot more defenders. He loses it. Unfortunately, he wins it back, and we know where it ends up.
Okay.
So there's one other area where I think the Black Stars can take advantage of Mozambique. And I talked about it when we were on the couch, the analysis of the game. But I'd like to go through it again. Silwane, who is the goalkeeper of Mozambique, I said that he was susceptible to these long-range strikes. And it was the case in the game against Cape Verde. They kept going at him, hitting long strikes, even though, of course, he's going to save a few. There are a few that he's going to let in. He's going to push them back for rebounds to the offensive players. So there's the first shot, which obviously it saved. It was going wide of play. But then they didn't stop at that. Free kick. Nobody would expect Bebe to take a free kick from that side. but they'd gone through their strategy, decided that they can attack him from long range. So they kept going at these shots. The second one, obviously, it ends up in the net because of a huge error from the goalkeeper. And then in the second half, you find the goal that seals it all, again from long range, because they know his deficiencies. He doesn't move quickly from side to side enough, and it leaves spaces at the back. One other area the Black Stars can take care of, which I can't show right now, are the set pieces. So far in this competition, the set pieces have proven to be the Black Stars' main source of attacks or main source of chances. Obviously, Jiku's goal in the first game, but there have been several other opportunities where the Black Stars have threatened from set pieces, whether it's the defender heading the ball or whether it's the second ball which comes out to the offensive player. We saw Kudus hit one over the bar against Egypt. There were a couple others where Iñaki headed one over the bar as well. So the Black Stars need to take advantage of the set pieces, but be wary of Mozambique's threat out wide. Need to ensure that their fullbacks are concentrating and are focused 100%. And the wing play, I hope Chris Hughton is listening. Somehow he has the feed from Abidjan and he's listening to us. Start a natural winger, Joseph Paintsel and Esnyama, Osman Bukari, or even if you decide to go with the forwards, start Semenyo or Iñaki out wide and let Jordan Ayew sit in the middle where he can be a ball holder and he can take advantage of the chances given to him.
All right, interesting. The wide areas could be Ghana's weapon as they play Mozambique this evening.